Okay, so yesterday we read chapters 11 and 12, and today we are going to read chapters 13 to 14 of The Whipping Boy. So grab your book, get ready. You can open up to chapter 13. It is on page 41. All right, so yesterday at the end of chapter 12, we left off that Jemmy was trying to hide and was going to run away, and then Prince Brat ratted him out, told where he was. So, not super happy. Chapter 13, The Chase. A thoroughbred of the streets, Jemmy acted on instinct. He didn't wait to be nabbed. In a burst of straw, he shot up and made a leap for the door. Cutwater, startled, lost the merest breath of time, but it was enough. Jemmy flung open the door and ran. His long arms outstretched, Cutwater lurched after him, and Prince Brat followed. Jemmy vanished into the wild green tangle. He jumped a great fallen log, ducked under low-hanging branches, and, like a rabbit, made sudden changes in direction. He could hear Cutwater close behind, breathing like a bellows. "I'm on your tracks! Stop before I get agravexed with you, Prince!" Jemmy covered the ground at full tilt. Leaves crackled under his feet. Gah, he thought. He might as well be leading a confounded parade for all the noise he was making. He reached a small clearing and half jumped out of his skin. Sniffing near the skeleton white roots of an upturned hollow tree stood a wild beast. A bear! Jemmy would have preferred Cutwater's own company, but before he could find his legs, the hairy beast took flight. It went crashing away to Jemmy's left. Jemmy got his breath back. Then, almost without thinking, he dove into the hollow of the dead tree and snugged himself in. Moments later, he caught the merest glimpse of Cutwater cupping an ear. Turning on his heels, the Rattlebone man gave a shout. "Practically got you by the hind leg, pesky Prince!" Jemmy let out a small sigh of relief. Cutwater would have a mighty surprise if he caught that bear by the hind leg. As the sounds of the chase grew fainter, Jemmy crawled out of the hollow root. The sun was now high enough to send down smoky rays of light through the tree tops. Which way was the river? And then he saw Prince Brat, his face lobster red from running, at the end of the clearing. "Unfaithful servant!" he protested, glaring hard at Jemmy. Until this moment, Jemmy hadn't had a moment's pause for anger, but now fury shot into his eyes. "Curse this blabber-tongued, hateful prince! You betrayed me!" "You'd have deserted me without a care," said the prince. Jemmy bristled. "Ain't it me they think is the prince? If you hadn't pointed me out under the straw, Cutwater would have flown off to pick up my tracks, and we could have crept away dead easy. I wouldn't be running my lungs out." The prince pondered this for a moment. He nodded. "Then I forgive you." Jemmy was speechless for a moment. "Forgive me? Don't trouble yourself, my good and loyal prince, and get yourself another whipping boy." "But I have not dismissed you from my service," said the prince calmly. "I dismiss myself," Jemmy fired back. "I'll get where I'm going, and you can find your own way back to the castle." "I'll go with you," said the prince. "Not likely," said Jemmy. Jemmy turned to the right and beat his way back into the foliage. Okay, we're going to take a little pause. So Jemmy ran away. Cutwater still thinks Jemmy is the prince, and he ran after him. Prince Brat was following, right? And unfortunately, he caught up. But what threw Cutwater off? Because Cutwater's not chasing them anymore. He's actually chasing a bear. So thank goodness for that bear distracting Cutwater. All right, chapter 14, in which is heard a voice in the forest. Jemmy could hear Prince Brat following in his tracks step by step. He grimly pressed on. Brambles, reaching out like cat's claws, tore at their fine garments. The forest trees rose all around them like prison bars. Finally, Jemmy spun around. "Lay off! Go your own way!" "This way suits me," said the prince. Well, don't follow me. I've no more idea than a gnat where I'm headin', said Jemmy. Silence, whispered the prince, with a turn of his head. Hear that? They froze, the two of them. A voice came wailing through the woods. Petunia! Petunia! And then a young woman appeared, barefoot and jangling with bracelets. She moved through the trees as quickly as a wood spirit. Petunia! She carried a coiled rope in one hand and held outstretched in the other an amber chunk of comb honey. Come here, darling! Come to Betsy! Suddenly, as if sensing a presence in the trees, she headed toward Jemmy and the prince. Petunia! You there, naughty rascal? Smell the honey? Come feast yourself, pet! Jemmy didn't know what to make of this woman. Girl, really. For as she drew closer, he reckoned she couldn't be more than 14 or 15 years old. He stepped out into full view with the prince clinging to him like a shadow. Miss? She stopped short. My eyes! Who are you? Lost, said Jemmy. Would you know which way to the river? Course I do. Ain't we headin' for the fair, me and Petunia? Have you seen him? Petunia? Jemmy said. Got loose, he did. My dancing bear. World famous. Scared me out of my skin, Jemmy replied, and pointed. Back there. She turned on her heels and started off. Hey, Jemmy shouted, where's the river? Where it's always been, due south, she said. Which way is south? Said Jemmy. Betsy paused to set her arm like a signpost. Straight on. You certain? Said Jemmy. Certain, I'm certain. Didn't Pa always say I had a head like a compass? Rest him in peace. And she was gone. Their clothes were ripped to tatters by late morning when Jemmy and the prince caught sight of the sparkling river, and almost at once they dove back into cover. Mounted on high, stepping horses, a pair of soldiers were advancing along the river road. They must be out searching for you, Jemmy whispered. If they catch me with you, I'm done for. Prince Brat didn't seem to be listening. His eyes were fixed on the passing soldiers. Look here, Jemmy muttered impatiently. I can't have you sticking to me like a barnacle. Ain't you had a snoutful of running away? Go back with the soldiers. The prince shook his head. Let them pass. And then he added with the faintest of smiles, This is the first time no one has had fits because I got my clothes grimy. The ladies keep me clean and starched as a pillowcase. But you're a prince, Jemmy said. Is my face dirty as yours? The prince asked. You don't belong knocking about outside the walls. Prince Brat gazed off into the distance. Did you have a lot of friends when you lived on the streets? Heaps, Jemmy said. Heaps, of course, said the prince. And hardly a one of 'em wouldn't fight me over a bone. Go back. Your pa must be having double fits o' worry, Jemmy said. The prince answered with a flash of resentment. I might as well be stuffed and hung on the wall like a stag head, for all he notices me. You remind him often enough with all your pranks. How long are you going to let him sweat and stew? Asked Jemmy. I don't know, declared the prince. Maybe I'll never go back. This is the best time I ever had. Gah, Jemmy murmured. Okay, so the prince, it sounds like he is actually having fun. Is Jemmy having fun? No, Jemmy wants the prince to go back home to the castle. Jemmy wants to be free and go live in the streets like he used to. But right now, they got away from Cutwater and Hold Your Nose Billy. So what do you guys think is going to happen next? Are they going to get caught? Are they going to go back to the castle? Are they going to live free forever? What do you think is going to happen? We will find out. Not tomorrow, because tomorrow we will not be reading The Whipping Boy, but we will find out next week on Monday what happens.